This is Julien, and welcome to video number 2 of the Self-Esteem video series, teaching you everything that you need to know when it comes to self-esteem and, more importantly, how to raise your level of self-esteem. In case you missed the first video, go watch that one right now. We cover the fundamentals of where low self-esteem actually comes from and the right approach to take to raise your self-esteem. And in this video, we're going to go even deeper and examine how your level of self-esteem will dictate your floor and your ceiling of success. So what you have to realize is that every single human being is trapped above a certain floor and beneath a certain ceiling of success. You can think of this as an invisible prison, if you will, where whenever you venture beneath that floor, an invisible force pulls you right back up, and whenever you venture above that ceiling, an invisible force pulls you right back down. Okay, you think you have free will, you think you can do whatever you want, but that's not necessarily true. You only have free will as long as it's beneath the ceiling and above the floor. Okay, and the pattern that runs most people goes like this. They start working on themselves. You might be motivated, you have that burst, you know what, I'm gonna start taking right action, working on my success when it comes to my health, my wealth, my relationships, my friendships, you name it, and you start taking action, right? You start moving up. Things are getting better and better, but as you start getting closer to that ceiling or even passing that ceiling, suddenly excuses start seeping in. Your motivation starts dropping. You know what? I can take a break, right? I've been taking so much action, things are going great. I'm gonna take it a little easy here, right? A little easy. And what happens, you slowly start self-sabotaging and going down. And you keep on going down until you start approaching that floor of success or even going beneath it. And that's when you wake up. Oh my God, how could I let myself fall off? What happened here? Let's take action. And the cycle repeats itself. You start working, taking right action, good habits, achieving a certain amount of success. You reach that ceiling, you pass it, self-sabotage kicks in, you fall all the way down, you hit the floor, go beneath the floor, you wake up, and it's this pendulum, if you will, where you're just swung back and forth and back and forth. And the crazy part about this is it gives you the illusion of progress. You think you're actually moving up, but in reality, you're simply trapped beneath that ceiling, fixing the self-sabotage. You're not actually succeeding, you're fixing self-sabotage, ruining it again, fixing it, ruining it. And if you audit your life, you will see this everywhere, right? When it comes to your health, you're working out, you're eating healthy, you start gaining a certain amount of success, and suddenly you fall off. Then you work on it again and you fall off. The same with money. You start getting a certain amount of financial success and you start spending it all. And you go right back down. This here, by the way, the ceiling of success explains why lottery winners just squander the money, right? If there's a certain ceiling and suddenly they win the lottery, guess what? That's above the ceiling and they will spend it to go right underneath that ceiling back into their comfort zone. And guess what? Your level of self-esteem will dictate just how high that ceiling of success is and where the floor is, okay? When you go under that floor, you could think of this as when necessity kicks in, right? That's when you wake up and you finally start taking action, all the things you've been putting off, you start acting on them, and you even start seeing possibilities and opportunities that you were previously blind to, okay? Right now, if you want to play this mental game with yourself, imagine there's a certain goal you've been putting off, right? Or excuses when it comes to a certain area of life. Now I want you to imagine that you're now magically transported in a prison. You're in jail right now, okay? Take it in, you're in jail, and the bail to get you out is doing that thing. Are you going to do that thing? The answer is yes. The same with new opportunities or options. Right? A lot of people, they come up with excuses when it comes to their finances. I can't afford it. I don't have the money. I'm just so stuck. If I had the money, I could accomplish my goals. Well, guess what? What if you're in prison and now that sum is the bail? Are you going to find the money? The answer is yes. You will be asking around. You'll get creative. Once more, you'll see new opportunities because you're beneath that floor of what you will tolerate and you wake up. However, here's the problem. As soon as you go back up, you're back in your comfort zone and you get out of that mode. The key is, how can you still see those opportunities as you start moving up? Okay, and how can you eliminate this ceiling where you just keep self-sabotaging? And that there comes down once more to raising your level of self-esteem. And do an audit here. Look back at your life and look, when it comes to your finances, the average amount of money that's been in your bank account over the past few years. What about your health, right? You might be doing this pendulum swing up and down where you stayed at on average. What about your friendships? What about your relationships, right? If you want to notice your ceiling of success when it comes to relationships, look for when you start getting stifled, right? If you talk to someone you believe is in that comfort zone below your ceiling, you're not going to run out of things to say. Things just flow. You're at ease, you're comfortable. But as soon as you talk to someone you believe is outside your league, above that ceiling, you freeze. Okay? Audit your life, and what you will find is in all areas, there's a ceiling, there's a floor, and over a period of time, there's that pendulum. There's that pattern of up and down, up and down, up and down, the illusion of progress. However, you're just stuck. Now, the next thing to understand here is that when you pass this ceiling of success and self-sabotage kicks in, you can think of it as there's the ceiling and the guards of self-sabotage are patrolling that ceiling, and as soon as you pierce through, they get you. The mistake that most people make is they try to fight and battle those guards directly. They try to fight self-sabotage, and unfortunately, that is most of the success advice out there. It isn't true success advice, it's anti-self-sabotage advice. It's, hey, when you start piercing through and suddenly the excuses seep in, use willpower, use discipline, use self-hate to just keep yourself going, right? Anti-self-sabotage. And that will only temporarily work. You could think of it as temporarily delaying the inevitable, where something happens, rationalizations, excuses, and you find your way back, okay? And the big thing to take away here is that you cannot fight self-sabotage directly. You cannot beat those guards, okay? No matter what you do, no matter what you try, the direct approach against self-sabotage does not work. Instead, what you must do is identify what is keeping the ceiling alive, okay? If you think of this as an invisible force field, right? You pass it and the hand comes up and just pulls you back. And I'm sure you've had that experience. You just feel like there's this force pulling you back when things get a little too good. Instead of trying to battle that force, which you can't win, identify what's keeping it alive. Wait a minute, where are the generators here that are keeping the ceiling alive? Why don't I turn those off so suddenly the ceiling and the guards of self-sabotage disappear? Okay, that is true success advice. It's not directly battling the guards, it's identifying what's keeping the ceiling there. Let's turn off the generators and just keep moving up and up and up. Another way to think of this is if you view yourself as a computer, right? You are the hardware. We're also quick to install all this software. We want the hustle software, the money software, the success, the social skills software. We're installing all these programs and they're just not working, right? They're working as long as it's under that ceiling, but not above that. And we think that the answer is out there, just more software and eventually it'll work. Yet we never paused to see if perhaps there is a virus on this computer. We never ran the antivirus. Run the antivirus and suddenly all those external programs will start working, okay? If you've ever just been banging your head against the wall like, why does it just not work for me? I see how this could work for others, but why me? Why can't I just get past this? That is why. There is a virus running you right now, okay, keeping a ceiling alive, and you need to identify it. Where does this come from? Let's find the generators and let's turn it off for good. And when you do, what you will notice is that as you start moving up, instead of all this effort and discipline, which, what is that really? It's disciplining the part of you that's pulling you back down, right? That's the state of most people. They want to go there. There's that invisible force pulling them back, right? A part of you just, I want to go back there, and you have to discipline that part of you. Ask yourself here, wait a minute, why is it that not all parts of me are aligned towards success? What about instead of having, work ethic and depending on that, what about cultivating a work magnet? And that's what happens when you turn those generators off. Instead of this effort and this grind and this hustle, you're still taking massive action. It's still a lot of work, but it doesn't feel like it. It's completely effortless, and It's more of like you being pulled towards your goals, pulled towards success with the same vision where you've seen the opportunities that you would normally only have access to if you go below that floor. So having established that, in terms of identifying the generators that are keeping this invisible force field alive, the big one, of course, is dissolving that split within. Okay, once more, your level of self-esteem will dictate just how low or how high that ceiling and that floor is. Okay, one person, that floor might be very low and they will tolerate a lot before reaching rock bottom and waking up. And the same with the ceiling, it might also be very low, where just a little bit of success and self-sabotage kicks in. For another person, it might be much higher, for another, much higher, and as you raise your self-esteem, this moves up as well. Okay, so dissolving that split, we covered this in the first video, is really what's going to take the charge out of this invisible force field. But there are two other things that you must examine as well. The first is core beliefs, and the second is your core identity. So let's start with core beliefs. What are they? A core belief is an original belief or original assumption that you form early on in life and that is at the foundation of other beliefs and other assumptions. Okay, when you're born, you come into this world and you got to quickly form your bearings. What is this? And the way it works is you're going to take on beliefs, make assumptions. If this is true, then based upon that assumption, that belief, then that is true. And if that is true, then this is true, so on and so forth. And you can think of these as belief trees, right? Or assumption trees. And at the foundation are the core beliefs or core assumptions. So for example, you might come into this world and form a core belief around relationships where you look at the dynamic between whoever is raising you or your parents, and based upon that, you're going to say, I guess that is love. And if that is love, then new belief, new belief, new belief based upon that. Now, the crazy thing about core beliefs is that there's going to be massive internal resistance to becoming aware of them and, more importantly, letting go of them, because if the core belief that's at the foundation is wrong, what happens to the belief tree? It crumbles. And this here explains so much self-sabotage, where in reality, you are staying congruent to this core belief. So you might consciously think, why is it that I keep, going for bad and toxic relationships? Well, guess what? Deep down inside, you're doing that on purpose to stay congruent so that belief is not challenged and the belief tree doesn't crumble. So if you look at that example of, say, your parents and love, and say they fight a lot, there's a lot of drama, you're going to take that on as a core belief. Love equals drama, love equals fighting. And here you are in your adult life, and you might be falling for toxic relationships, the wrong partner, there's always drama, and consciously you're like, why does this keep happening? Why can't I just have a healthy relationship? Well, guess what? You're just acting in alignment with that core belief. And until you identify it and let go of it, nothing is going to change. Okay? The same with a relationship where maybe your parents were split, and you might form the core belief that love equals abandonment. And here you are going with partners who cheat on you, who leave you long distance, replaying the same patterns to stay congruent to that core belief. You might also form the core belief that money equals bad, right? Money is evil, and here you are trying to succeed and get your finances in order, yet for some reason you just keep pushing money away, pushing opportunities away to stay congruent to that core belief that money is bad. Okay, so on top of dissolving that split and raising your self-esteem, it is also crucial to identify these core beliefs that also keep some of this invisible force field alive. And to do this, there are many processes that you can go through, but a very simple one is just take a blank piece of paper in front of you and write down health, wealth, relationships, and put a little equal next to each and just let the answers flow out, right? Health equals what? What does that mean to you? Being healthy. What about money, finances? Money equals what? What about when it comes to relationships? What about when it comes to you? You equals what? And here we go to the third, you could say, generator, which is your core identity. So you don't just form core beliefs around what's out there, right? What is the world? You also form a core belief around you. who am I in relation to the world? And a great way to identify the core belief you have around who you are, that core identity, is to ask yourself, if you had to pick a movie character, right, a fictional character, what character would you pick that describes you at a core the most? Not who you want to be, but who you really resonate with, right? Are you, for example, the sidekick? Someone who's always helping others, but you're never the main hero, right? Others first, always the number two. Are you someone who might be the hero, but you're the hero who's always alone? Why do I keep pushing relationships away? To stay congruent to that core identity. One that I'd had for most of my life, and I've talked about this in many videos, is the self-destructive artist. That was a core identity that I had formed, where I liked achieving a certain amount of success and then destroying it. Why? Because that's what the self-destructive artist does, right? I would never allow myself to truly be successful, or I can't be self-destructive. Another common one is the underdog, the hustler, right? Rocky, where you always need some kind of big challenge to overcome. You need people to doubt you where you can prove them wrong. Success being easy is not for you if there's no challenge to overcome. And how might that manifest in your life? You're just always putting yourself in these tough situations, making things a lot harder than they need be. Another one is you might identify as the superhero, like Spider-Man, who gets bit by the spider and finally, has access to the superpowers, and here you are waiting for that magical moment. You could also be the victim, the martyr. You could be the person in the background that no one notices. The key here is, if you had to pick one that describes you the most, which one would you pick? And what are some of the characteristics and patterns that go with that character? And most likely you will be amazed at how this translates directly to your life. Okay, we think that everything is new, every day is a new day, but in reality we're run by these patterns, trying to stay congruent to different core beliefs, trying to stay congruent to our core identity, and we just keep hitting our head on the ceiling, on the floor, going up and down, up and down, up and down, and we call that life. Okay, it's really a Groundhog's Day where it's just the same patterns, and sure, at the surface things might look different, but it's the same again and again and again. Okay, so self-esteem, dissolving the split, core beliefs, identifying them, and then learning how to let go of them, and then your core identity, learning how to let go of that. This is really what is keeping that generator alive. And when you do so, guess what? The generator deactivates, self-sabotage deactivates, and you just keep moving up and up and up. Okay? This is really the secret when it comes to success, and really how your level of self-esteem will dictate how much success you will allow yourself to have in life. Okay, and once more, it always comes down to letting go. Now, before we wrap this one, there is also an external step that you can use. Okay, and that external step is surrounding yourself with people who have a higher ceiling of success than you, so that their being, if you will, remember having, doing, and being, transfers right onto you. People spend so much money trying to accumulate things to have, or taking so much action to prove themselves. If they actually shifted that to surrounding themselves with the right people, the results would come much faster and be a much better strategy. So you can use that as well. Letting go internally and surrounding yourself with the right people externally. I'm sure you've heard that saying, you are the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. If you look at the people you spend the most time with here, most likely they're at the same level as you. They have a very similar ceiling of success and floor. You got to proactively surround yourself with people at that higher level. Now the catch here, and this is something that very few people talk about, is that sure, you might know that if you surround yourself with 5 people who are more successful, you're going to gravitate towards that. It's going to affect you. But the catch is, they also know that. And they're not going to want to necessarily spend time with you, or you're going to perhaps bring them down a bit. So whenever you surround yourself with someone who has a higher ceiling, make sure you present them with an offering. Okay, that offering could be in the form of value, in the form of service, in the form of money, whatever it may be. Present them the offering to tolerate you and your lower level of self-esteem and the lower ceiling. Okay, that is an extra external step that you can use, but once more, getting to the cause is always internal. It's dissolving the split, letting go, and freeing yourself from the ceiling, turning off the generators, and achieving really your true potential. Until you do that, again, you can kid yourself as much as you want. I'll just barrel through, I'll fight the guards. Don't be stubborn. You cannot win once more against the guards of self-sabotage directly. Okay, so let this land. Be sure to click the subscribe button below this video and the bell next to it, because in video number 3 of this series, the next one, we're going to go deep in terms of how self-esteem and the ceiling of success and these core beliefs, these patterns, affect your social life. Okay, how does this affect in terms of you meeting new people, putting yourself out there, being able to flow, not run out of things to say? We're going really deep on that in the next one, and you don't want to miss out on it. So make sure you subscribe, hit the bell, and as always, until next time.